Hello dear learners, Mrs Whitehouse here. I've come to you this morning to show you how to make some paper beads, which are great fun to do and will keep you occupied for a little while, and you'll make some nice beads that you can use for all sorts of presents and gifts and all sorts of craft projects. What you need is some paper, obviously, and it doesn't have to be very thick, and it could be paper that you find in a magazine if you've got a magazine at home that somebody doesn't want anymore. It could be greetings paper, so wrapping paper you've had presents in, Christmas paper, anything like that will work beautifully well. And the more colourful, you'll get more interesting beads, and you can have a lot of fun experimenting. So I'll show you some finished beads. These are very big, wide beads. And these are done using strips of paper. Okay, so strips which are straight-sided like that. And I'm also going to show you how to make some slightly domed beads, and they're done using pieces of paper that are triangle in shape. So we're going to start with the straight-sided bead, and what you need is some paper cut into strips. So this is my paper. It's got cat paws on it and all sorts of funny little things on it. If you turn it over onto the side which is plain, your paper might have double-sided colours, but if you've got a side that's plain, and you can use your measuring, your ruler to measure your size of your bead. So I'm going to measure it that size. So the wider your piece of paper, the bigger your bead. So if you want really big chunky ones like this one, you have to do it the paper that wide. If you want little tinier, little small beads, then you can do it that size. But you can decide, and you can make them all different sizes. I'm going to draw a line to, this is good measuring skills, and now we're going to cut them up, so that'll be good scissor skills, which is really great fun to practice. Okay, so I'm going to cut along the lines. Just point your scissors in the right along the line, and your piece of paper will always be straight. I'm going to do 2 of these. Okay, so nice and straight. And that's my 2 pieces of paper. So mine are going to be quite narrow, they're not going to be wide, so they're probably going to land up about that size, which is quite nice. But you can, as I say, experiment and have a play. What else you're going to need is a piece of scrap paper so that you can glue on this and it won't spoil whatever's underneath, and you won't get glue everywhere. You're going to need a glue stick, and you might need some nail varnish at the end when we do some making it nice and shiny and a bit waterproof. The other thing you're going to need is a skewer, so you put kebabs on these, or something that, it could be a knitting needle that somebody has at home, or a very, very skinny pencil, something that's just like a stick, which is round, like a dowel, a piece of dowel would work. And this is for you to wind your bead onto. So we take our bead, this is my piece of paper, mine's going to land up looking a blue bead, and the first thing you do is you wind up the end part, just fold it in and tuck it in. If you've lifted off the table, it's sometimes easier to do. Where are we? There we go. And just roll it up a little bit so that it starts to go into a rolled shape. So mine's quite happy there. Take your glue and take it along, all the way along to the end. Make sure you go to the very end, because then it means that it will stick really well. And if you hold it up and roll it, you can roll it along the table if you want to, if that's easier. Or hold it up in the air. Give it a squeeze so that it actually okay, take it right to the end, making sure it stays centred. Okay, and hold, when it gets to the end, Give it a bit of a squeeze so that it holds together, because some glues take a little bit longer to dry, and make sure it's like a little tube. Okay, so it's a little tube shape. So what you can do is you can either do a lot of them. So you could take that one off and put it onto the table for now because it's glued. We'll do another one just to repeat that. Okay, so I've got my skewer again. If you have more than one of these, then you could put them, you can collect them on the end of your skewer until you're ready to do the varnishing part of this to make them shiny. So if you have a second one of these, which they come in big packets a lot of the time. Okay, so this is my second one. So I'm going to leave my first one on my skewer, and I'm going to have a go at doing my second one. So this is my second piece of paper. Okay, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing as I did before. I'm going to fold it over. Can you see what I've done there? I folded it over and tucked it in so that it stays. Just give it a bit of a squeeze like that so that it actually stays on the skewer. And then I'm going to take my glue. If you can try and keep the glue on the little strip and not on the thing underneath it, then it means everything doesn't get sticky and messy and horrible. Okay, and then we roll this one up. This takes a bit of practice, but when you have a practice with some paper that you don't mind wasting, just to have a little go first of all, and then you can use your paper that you're going to use for your beads, because it might be special paper that you want to do. And the longer your piece of paper, the bigger and fatter your bead is going to be. So if you want little tiny skinny beads, then you don't make your pieces of paper too long. But if you want beads of a reasonable size, that's my bead now. Okay, so I now have two beads, so I'm going to put them both onto the same skewer. I'm going to move it across so that they're now collecting on there. Okay, so I now have two little beads on there. When you're ready to do when you've finished or you think you've done enough, you can do these in little batches. You don't have to do the whole thing at once. So if you just wanted to make a few one day and then a few another day, you might find some other paper that you want to add to. You could then varnish it. So what I'm going to do is get my nail varnish. I'm sure someone can help you with this at home. You could either use a little bit of PVA glue, which we can water down a little bit. You don't need it watered down too much, or you can just use nail varnish and go onto your bead, and this protects it and makes it shiny, so that if they were to get slightly wet, then if you went out in the rain in this and you do this with your bead, and then you can leave it somewhere to dry, which won't take very long if it's nail varnish, and you could put it somewhere supported, like on a couple of books or something, so that it doesn't get sticky everywhere. And once you've got a few of them together, then you could put them into a necklace or oops. Okay, so this is some that I've had that I've just put onto a piece of wool. Okay, and it makes it into a necklace or a bracelet. There's some other ones I've done here, so I've made these using other beads as well. So you might have some other beads in your craft box at home, or something that you don't want anymore, that you could take the beads off it, you could recycle them, and that's onto a piece of leather, which makes it into a necklace. So that's how you make the straight-sided one. Now the really fancy one is the ones that make a sort of dome shape. Like a sort of, whoops, where have we gone? Okay, like a sort of domes, it sort of is narrower at the side and it comes to a sort of lumpy bit in the middle. And that's another one that's a sort of smaller one. And these are quite fun because these are done using triangular shaped pieces of paper. There's another one there. And this is quite a fancy one. This is done using some fancy wrapping paper, which has got sort of sparkly bits in it. So you could use sort of gold and silver papers and all sorts of things. So how do we make one of those? Well, you need a triangle shape. Now this would make quite a large bead. That would make one even bigger than that one. So I was just showing you what the triangle shaped piece of paper looks like. But if I was to... Right, so this piece of paper here, it's actually double-sided. And what you need to do, first of all, if you turn it onto one side, you need to make this not a straight edge to start with. So you can just, you don't need to do this measuring it or any sort, you just need to. So you've made that at a sort of angle. And then the next one you do is you move along a little bit and you again make it into a sort of, oops, an angle. Can't really see. I'm going to do this on a slightly different piece of paper because it's not the best paper to show you on actually. Okay, I'll do it on this one again. Right, let's try that again. So this is my straight side, and I don't want a straight side when I do my triangle ones. Okay, so I've got an angled piece of, an angled line now, and if I do another angled line the other way, and then I can do another angle the other way. So your bead will end up starting that size and it comes down to being narrow, and that's what makes it do the dome shape in the middle. So you need to cut along your angled line to make your triangle. Again, point your scissors in the right direction and they will give you lovely straight lines. Okay, and if I do another, I'm going to get rid of the first piece off here because we don't need that bit. Okay, so that first piece I'm just going to get rid of. So I now have my triangular shape of paper. You do exactly the same thing. So you've got your skewer. So you could combine these, you could have some straight-sided ones and you can have some triangular ones which make the dome shaped. And if you do exactly the same thing, fold it over first of all, give it a little pinch so that it stays, and then just roll it up a little bit to make sure it's starting off in the right way. Okay, so I've undone it again back to where the start of the strip is. I've got my glue and I'm going to do the same thing and go all the way up to the top. You've got to make sure that little point at the end has got some glue on it so that when we roll it up it's got something to hold on to. Okay, so we roll, and this time you've got to try and keep it in the middle so that this is getting narrower and narrower, and you want it to stay getting narrower but in the centre. Again, a little bit of practice, but if you persevere with it, it's really good fun to do. Okay, and you go right to the very end and you can see it gets narrower and narrower in the middle, and this little piece lands up right in the centre of your bead. Okay, and you might need to hold that there for a few seconds. And you've got this lovely little bead. So you could make a few of those, you could make lots of different colours, lots of different shapes. Again, you would make a few of them. It's probably easier to do it like that. Make a few of them and then do your varnishing. Okay, make sure you ask somebody, if you're wanting to borrow somebody's nail varnish, please ask first, or you might have some of your own. Okay, and again, you can use nail varnish, it's got sparkly bits in it, so you'd have some sparkly beads as well, which would be quite nice. And then you can mix them together. So you could use the two. I've used actually the same sort of paper, so I could use both of these together. I could add other beads, as I say, that I've had before. And you thread them on. So if once they're dry, if you have, there's a number of ways of doing this. If you have a large-eyed needle, you can feed, whoops, mine is still a little bit wet, so I'm doing this before they're actually dry, and you pass, as long as that goes through the hole, you can spend some time threading your little beads onto there. Younger children like threading beads onto things, so you could make some for a brother or sister or someone else who likes threading beads. You could make a little bag full for a friend of yours. You could do all sorts of things with it. And I'd love to know what you do with yours, so you could see me when we all get back to school and show me what you've done. So that's the start of my beaded bracelet. Okay, and I can just carry on adding more beads and having a lot of fun with lots and lots of different sorts of paper. You'd be surprised what they look like when you finish. They look really fun. I hope you enjoy doing this. As I say, I'd love to see them when you're finished. Take a photograph of them and we could perhaps have a look at them sometime. Okay, thanks for watching. I'll be back soon with something else for you to do that's crafty, because I know there's lots of you out there who like making things, and once you've done all your lovely work for school, you can have a go at making something fun and something that you can give to other people as presents. Thanks for watching. Bye for now. Bye.